This show is sponsored by PowerfulWomenUSA.com. Hey everybody, I'm Jill Conway, and this is Secrets of Powerful Women, a show dedicated to celebrating and supporting strong and successful women and sharing their stories. I'm hoping you will be inspired to pursue your own dreams, reclaim your voice, and discover your strengths. So my guest today is Laura Munson. Laura is an international best-selling author and founder of Haven Writing Retreats. It's the #1 retreat in the country. She has a new book out, The Wild Why, and she has been on every TV show, every news show you could possibly think of. She is it on a stick. So, Laura, thank you for coming on.
I don't know if I'm it on a stick.
You are. That's like such an 80s phrase, right? Like she is it on a stick. Yeah.
Or there's other things on a stick. But I will tell you that my integrity and my care for people out there to find the exact thing that you're trying to teach, their power, their inner power, and the world that they affiliate with is so aligned with what you're doing. So I'm really glad to be here, Jill. And thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. I mean, you're amazing. You are just a heavy hitter right now, and I'm honored that you would come on. So, let's first talk about young Laura. Young Laura, how did she become the writing phenomenon that you are now? Like, what did you always want to be a writer?
So thanks for asking that question. I would be remiss if I didn't simply quote something from my 4th grade journal, which I have. This is my office in Montana, where I live in Northwest Montana. And all my journals since 4th grade are over in a closet over there. And maybe you had one too. It's like pink patent leather, said private on it with a lock. And it begins this book, The Wild Why, which just came out in April. And so I'll read directly from it. This is basically where the wound around self-expression was born, or at least it chronicles that. And then what led to the consequent exploration and seeking of being a writing, teacher and editor, writer, but really living the writing life with all my heart. So this is the wound. You ready? 4th grade journal. We're 9 years old in 4th grade. I talk too much. I ask too many questions. I cry too easily. I laugh too loud. I'm too sensitive. I'm not sure what that means. And I feel bad about all of it. And I feel bad about all of it. I talk too much. I ask too many questions. I cry too easily. I laugh too loud. I'm too sensitive. I'm not sure what that means. And I feel bad about all of it. Laura Munson, 4th grade journal. And I can talk to you about why I wrote this book, but you asked me about my little self. That is the little self. And that is the self that wanted to express herself and heard the phrases that so many of us do, especially if we were raised by 50s parents. My parents were much older when I was born, at least my father was. So I'm 59 right now, but I was raised like my older brother and sister, really more like kind of 50s kids, seen but not heard, speak when spoken to, don't show off, don't take the spotlight, entertain, please, and then it's over. Please now remove yourself from the room. And it was really confusing to me. So younger Laura decided that, she wanted the stage then, because that's where, the attention was. It was safe on the stage. And so I did every play I could. I was a theater major in college. And then at the very end of college, I ended up taking a screenwriting course and realizing, much to my dismay and my parents, that I was actually a writer. And I got it wasn't an F. I got a D- on a full-length screenplay, half in Italian. And that story is actually in this book. And then the first book I published, this one was the New York Times bestseller. And he said, "This is not cinema, Laura. Take this to the English department." And I did. And I was like, I am not going to be a writer. I do not want to spend the rest of my life alone in a room making stuff up or chronicling my life. God forbid that. And the teacher smiled and he said, "I'm putting you in the advanced creative writing program." It was literally my spring of my senior year in college. And I walked in there and thought, oh man, okay. These are my people. These are my people. And so I've never stopped. That was 1988. And I've written book after book after book, mostly fiction, and cut my teeth on life. And then I ended up finding a literary agent and getting some books published. But it's really all been about sitting at that intersection of heart and craft and mind that is the writing life since I was little without even knowing it in my journals.
Well, what was it about writing that you said, "Oh my gosh, like this is it." Like the light went on. Like what your mutual friend Mary Olson she wrote a book, What Lights You Up. What did it feel like that you knew this was it?
I think it was that moment when that teacher said, "This is not cinema. Take this to the English department." It was being seen. And when someone sees you for who you deeply, intuitively know you are, but don't know in the frontal part of who you are, what you are, then that person is a real gift. And I track that in this book, actually. Like, sometimes proverbial they say, it takes just one person. And there's a huge part of this book that tracks the one person in your life. And it might be somebody at the checkout line in the grocery store, or it might be somebody that you meet once on an airplane, or that you took a course from in college or high school, or just that person who shared something with you at the farmer's market. And I honor him. His name is Elliot Stout, for being the person who said, "You are not an actress, you are a writer." And boy, did I resist it. But the minute I started writing, with such commitment. And believe me, like, I turned away great jobs. I did sit at that intersection of heart and craft and mind with all my might, starting in 88. Like I said, lived in Boston, and I took any job I could not to tempt me away from the writing life, which meant I lived in a disgusting apartment with cockroaches everywhere. And we had to sleep with the lights on, and drove a delivery truck for a flower shop. I was a bartender. I tended a woman's orchids in Harvard Square. Then I moved to Seattle. I was a nanny. Everything I've done is legal, Jill. Everything I've done is legal. But I totally committed to the writing life, which meant that I couldn't get tempted away from it. And also, as Nora Ephron said, her mother said, everything is copy. So I've got a book about writing coming out next year. And in it, it says writing isn't just writing, it's living in a way that helps you find what it is that you have to say. And I have lived that way as a child, and then also as an adult for a long time now.
Well, why why do you write? Like, what does it do for you?
So I have a writer's statement. I teach, like you said in your lovely intro, I do lead one of the very top writing retreats in the United States. I've been doing it since 2012, maybe 2013. I'm not good with numbers. I can help you develop an entire book, but I'm really bad at numbers. Um, and so I've worked with over 1,000 people. So as a book editor, as developmental editor, as a teacher, retreat leader, and as a writer. And in that retreat, we focus on why we write in the first place, because you can turn a phrase or twist a plot or have a fabulous command of the language in which you express yourself, whether verbally or on the page. But if you don't have your finger on the pulse of what's behind it, forget it, because it will never build the bridge to the reader, because we need to use our self-expression to build the bridge to ourself first. So at Haven Writing Retreats, I always say to people on the last night, let's get intentional about why we write in the first place, per your question. So here is my writing statement, and it's a movable feast. It can change, but mine's been pretty locked in for a while. And it is this: I write to shine a light on a dim or otherwise pitch black corner, to provide relief for myself and others. And I'll say it again. I write to shine a light on a dim or otherwise pitch black corner, to provide relief for myself and others. And I wrote that after I got a big, huge rejection on a big, huge novel with a big, huge, big five New York publishing house. And I thought, why am I doing this in the first place? I got intentional about it. This was way before like hashtag mindfulness, hashtag gratitude. Like this was just, why am I doing this thing? It's so hard to get published and to live the writing life. It doesn't promise you anything. Nobody asks you to write. And in that moment, I believe that everything changed, because it was when I did that I wrote the short version of this book, which was already written, sent it to the New York Times Modern Love column, and they took it after many rejections from them. and I got my start. Thank you, Dan Jones. And to this day, I believe it's still the number 2 most read essay in the history of that column. I'm told that the reactions to it temporarily shut down the New York Times website. So it was kind of a big deal. All the big, Oprah called, the whole thing. And I'm just this person who's been living in Montana trying to live the writing life. So I was glad then that I knew who I was as a writer and as a woman. And then when I got intentional, per your question, that's when everything happened. So be intentional with your lives, people, whether or not you're writers. This is how to live your life with that kind of intention.
What do you mean? Do you mean lock in focus as in like intention? Or I mean, it's almost like I feel like writing, and I journaled for years, and obviously it was the news and stuff. So I love writing, and I love the I mean, it's like you pour out your soul almost, like you try to explain yourself and others when you're writing. So like, what is it like a spiritual thing with you? Like you lock in and say, I'm a writer. I'm 100% in, right? And then like, where's the inspiration come from? Where do the words come from and the thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it. I can't say it enough. Writing isn't just writing; it's living in a way that helps you find what it is that you have to say. That's it. So writing isn't just putting words down on the page. It's intentional living. Like I was saying, it can be making soup. It can be taking a walk. It can be petting your dog. It can be taking a bath or a shower. Writing is living. It eventually comes down to this, if this is the way that you write, or this, my favorite orange Sharpie on the page, or however, I know the orange Sharpie, or however you want to write. Maybe you do, hold up one of these things and dictate. But writing is a way of living, and I am trying to eradicate the tortured artist paradigm. So a lot of the people that I work with are not writers at all, but they understand that writing is their way into their self-expression. I always say, you don't have to write good. You just have to write true. And that is what I'm trying to help people do with any form of self-expression, which is this book. This book is not for writers.
That's the Wild Why, right? That's your newest book.
That's the new one. It's just the reason why I'm holding all this up is because we should promote ourselves.
Yes, we should. I said that to you. I'm 100% all for it. Yeah.
But this is where the treasure is, because it says it better than I ever could. And in this book, so this is what I call a teaching memoir. And at the end of each section, it asks you to do something, whether it's to write or live with certain intention or awareness or deliberate behavior. So this is not for writers. And this is I love working with writers, but I'm much more interested in talking about how we get in the way of our self-expression. And I know you like the subject of the inner critic, and I would love to talk with your group about this.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's go. Game on. Yes. Because I just published a little podcast about it, about the inner critic, because I think it's very important. And go ahead. I think it's what sabotages, how we sabotage ourselves. So go ahead.
Totally, Jill Conway. And I just listened to it, which I was like, yes, kindred woman. Okay, so here's the thing. So I only had written novels, and suddenly I write this memoir. It's published in 8 countries.
We should say the title. We should say the title who are people who are listening and not watching. This is not the story you think it is, right?
And then the subtitle's Season of Unlikely Happiness. And the entry point is a marital crisis. Who wants to read about that? But the book was about finding emotional liberation during a time of great rejection. Nobody wants to hear, I don't love you anymore. I never did. I'm leaving. The kids will understand. Nobody wants to hear that. Sure. But I had a different relationship with rejection in my life because I'd been a writer. And, if you want to be a writer, you're going to be met with rejection. If you're going to do anything in life where you leap into your dreams, sometimes you'll be met, but sometimes you end up bashing your head bloody on the door that won't open. Please look over your right shoulder and find the door that is open with the mountain bluebirds and the beautiful wildflowers, and stop bashing yourself bloody on the door that won't open and go to the new one. But I digress. So that book was all about finding emotional liberation. And so it launched me into this whole world of women's empowerment. This was in 2010, I believe it was. No, yeah, the article came out in 2002. My gosh, I can't do math. 29. And then in 2010, dude, I cannot do it. Sorry.
I can't either. I'm horrible at math. Yeah. So I get
can't even do numbers. I can help you write a trilogy. So 2009 is when the essay came out. 2010, oh my God, is when the book came out. And so that was when I started to get into the whole speaking circuit. So this is an answer to your question. So, and I think it really is congruent with what you're saying in the podcast that you did about the inner critic, which I call the inner critter, because why not be playful? And you totally hit on some of the stuff that I know too. And discovered along the way. So I'm suddenly speaking at these massive conferences for women, right? So it's like, it's like 10,000 women. Hillary Clinton's the keynote. They threw me in a limo with Madeleine Albright. I was like, good morning, Madeleine. I was like,
wow.
I kept waiting for like the director to be like, cut, like whoever Laura Munson is from Montana, like you're in the wrong set. But it was incredible. And I'm speaking at these huge conferences, and they give you a ballroom in the morning of 2,000 women, and then a ballroom in the afternoon. This is Massachusetts Conference for Women, Philadelphia Conference for Women, etc. And then afterwards, you get a whole beautiful book signing. And many of those people, hopefully most of them, are in line wanting to sign, have a signature for the book. I tell you this because that's when they spill their guts. And so per what I was listening to on your podcast, I realized that what's in our way when it comes to self-expression, because these weren't writers necessarily, they would light up, Jill, they would light up, their eyes would light up, their body language would open up, and they'd say, I have a story. Everybody tells me I need to tell it. Maybe I have a book in me, because that book was a memoir. I wrote my way through a hard time, but, and then they would wilt, their eyes would fade, and they would say the same things. And you touched on some of them in that same podcast. What I heard was, nobody asks me to do it. It's self-indulgent at best. I don't have letters after my name. I would embarrass my family. I would embarrass myself. But the two that broke my heart and had me get off those stages and start Haven in Montana were these two. I'm not creative and I don't have a voice.
Wow.
And I'm not creative and I don't have a voice. Of course you have a voice. You're using it to say that you don't have a voice. What you mean is, I feel like I don't have a voice that matters, and I'm not creative. Listen, you don't see little wobbly kids playing in a sandbox, which is what this whole book, The Wild Why, is about. Like, get back to the sandbox before we had that inner critter. Saying that they're just like, hey, pretty shovel, let's play. Like when we're little, before greed and competition comes in. But so I don't have a voice, and I'm not creative. I'm not creative. Of course, you're creative. Every thought you think is an act of creation. Every word that comes out of our mouth, the way that we move our body around is an act of creation. So I thought, you know what? I'm done with this whole scene. I don't want to be standing on a stage looking at all these women who are staring into, a spotlight, holding tote bags full of stuff they don't even want. Like, no offense, but it's like, what they really want in the tote bag is like, can you look at me? Can we talk? Can we communicate?
Can you see me? Can you see me and can you hear me? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Now, I'm not cutting down those conferences because I think they're an important step. But what I decided to do in that moment was to start Haven and to bring small groups of people to Montana, whether they're writers or not, to truly be seen, be heard, like you just said, and to communicate and be led in it, in this beautiful place where I live. So that is my very long-winded answer, but I'm as on fire as you are about this subject, because just like you said on your podcast, that inner critter, she's just afraid.
Yeah.
And when she's really afraid, she's mean.
Yeah. So true.
She's mean. And that's how you know that she just needs to take a nap. She's so tired of being so scared and so mean. She just needs to take a nap.
Right.
So we can do the work that we knew how to do by birthright as children.
It's so funny because it's true when you look at a child, a young child, and they're in a good mood, they're happy, and they're just everything is fun and new, and they're just this sense of wonder, which we'll talk about, right? But I think it's so interesting that before the world contaminates them, before their parents contaminate them, before they're told to question their worth, it's life is good. Life is good. The wonder of living. I know it's I think we all need a lesson in that. I think we all need to just take a step back, from the computers, the phones, even though we're doing this via computer, but take it just stop it. And then you talk about the wonder of life. Talk about that, Laura. I mean, like your message is a powerful one. I think. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it's it's not a silly frilly idea, and I was just out all through April, May, some of June. Then I led 2 retreats, promoting this book across the country, and I was a little worried because, listen, we live in a worried world.
Mm.
Nobody, no matter what you believe politically, spiritually, can deny that we live in a worried world. We always do, and we're mortal. We die at the end of this thing, but there's a lot of pressure on worry right now and a lot of activation of it. And
mm,
so I think that wonder, I was worried when I went out, worried also to use that word again, that maybe people would think, oh, that's great. Oh, if you've got time to connect with your wonder, that's fantastic. But like, I don't have the money to pay for my rent. Or this is
right.
exactly when we need our wonder. Remember that movie? What was the movie? Life is Beautiful with Roberto Benigni, I think it was.
Yeah.
Remember? And
Very good. Yeah.
remember that? They
Yeah.
were in a concentration camp, he and his son, and he made the whole thing like a play. Do you remember the movie?
Yeah.
Life is
Yeah.
Beautiful? It's like, look, wonder is at the center of survival. And so this book to me is about getting back to something that we already know, again, as a life jacket, life force, something that is not silly, frilly, something that we think about when we have time. No, it's right in the trenches of when we are in our pain and fear that we can look at life just a little bit differently. I'm not, and listen, I don't have letters after my name. I'm not a wonderologist, and it's like, that's part of why, like, I hesitated to write a self-help book because I don't even read self-help books really. I don't like prescriptive stuff. I like stories. This book is called The Wild Why: Stories and Teachings to Uncover Your Wonder, because
Mm.
it's not like to birth it, it's to find it again. And how do we do that? Through stories. If you and I were sitting around having a cup of tea and we were talking about this, and maybe we'll get into it, but I'm being interviewed, but like, if you and I were just chatting and I could ask you questions too, we could
Mm.
really talk about, like, where did we lose our wonder along the way? And like what caused it? And why is it important to get it back? So I want to say that my definition of wonder is something that might be different than yours. My definition of wonder is what's behind creativity. And because so many people said to me in those conferences, and even at Haven in Montana, my retreats, they would say, I'm just not creative. And I thought, you know what? That word creative is so scary to people. And I think that, like, maybe very early on in traditional US education, we get like slotted when we're little. Like, oh, you're a jock, or you're smart, or
Mhm.
you're pretty, or you're artsy, or you're whatever. And then we live by those myths. And creativity is in all of them. But it's the artsy people who think, oh, I'm comfortable with creativity. It's just not right. So the truth is that we're afraid of the word creativity unless we were reinforced. So I thought, walking around the woods one day in Montana, as one does, I sat on a stump and I thought, what's behind creativity? And it occurred to me, wonder. And then I thought, well, that's an even harder word for people. So what's behind wonder? And then it occurred to me that it's curiosity, but it's more than curiosity, it's awe. And I think our culture is very big on curiosity. What makes a rainbow? Let's look and see what it makes the
Right.
rainbow. But what we're not doing is looking at the rainbow. It's the awe piece that we've lost, that children know and that you knew, again, by birthright. That's what I want us to return to.
How can people return to that though? I mean, do you have to get quiet? Do you have to, like, what's one way?
Well, there are about 30 different ways to do it in the wild why, because it's not just that we have this issue. It's now the teaching spirit in me is like, all right, let's play. So let's play. How can we find wonder? It's sad to me that we have to think about the how,
Mm,
but we do,
yeah.
because our society tells us like, okay, put your nose down, work hard, and then there's room for wonder. But
Mhm.
if you have wonder all the time, then like, and I mean like radical empathy and curiosity and willingness to understand the value of stopping and observing what's going around you all the time, that's life changing, life affirming. It's not a silly idea. It's everything. So how? I don't know. Like in this book, there's, I mean, at the end, I'm trying to think of one of the book's called The Wild Why, and then at the end of each section is Your Wild Why. And one of the things that I ask people to do is to spend a week carrying around a small little journal. We all have a little book. I'm looking
Mhm.
around my office right now. Just a small little book. You know, somebody gave it to us, little pretty book, or just one of those little like mini moleskins you get in a bookstore. Please support your independent bookstore. And and then, you know, you just carry it with you. And then and and, and you've got a minute to sit on a park bench between two meetings if you live in a city or out here in Montana. You have a minute between again meetings and you can sit on a stump or take a walk or just, you know, like why would you take out your phone and scroll through Facebook and Instagram and just fill up your time when you could actually sit and behold the beauty around you. I love it was fun on the book tour because I was in all these cities and I love cities. I grew up in Chicago and I've lived in New York and London and places. And I did a lot of sitting on park benches and just watching
Mm.
and recording what I see. So essentially, I don't believe in like 10 steps or bullet points or tips and tricks. It's just not who I am. I'm all about story and observation. So, how about you sit down and you slow down and you value that pause
Mm.
and you write it down? I mean, like, why do I? It's like the bigger question is, why is what's coming out of my mouth new news to a lot of people? Right?
That's
I mean, this
true,
is like the
right?
most basic thing that there is that we knew when we were children, but the world just like beat it out of us and we allowed it to happen because we were ambitious and we needed to feel financial security or identity. And I was like that. This a big, huge part of the Wild Why is about my ambition addiction and
Mm.
how it totally tripped up my wonder and how I needed to cut that out because it was a myth.
Why? Because you got caught up in that life, like just being busy?
Because I had this huge random, to me, success, and I had a moment of epiphany. I wanted something so bad for so long. I wanted to be a New York Times bestselling author. I wanted that brass ring. I mean, it wasn't just like, you know, I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be, you know, an
Yeah,
award. I wanted
yeah.
an Oscar.
You wanted it all. You wanted
I
to be the
wanted it
best of the
all.
best. Yeah.
And I was a high achiever also, so that like I was fed with you can be anything you want to be. You're going to be the star of the family. You're and then and then I finally got this thing I wanted, and I'm on the way to my first reading, Upper East Side, New York City, Barnes and Noble. At that time, it still is, but they had a really amazing like that was the go-to place that you launched your book. And I'm with the top marketing and publicity people in New York City, Penguin, Putnam, now Random House, and the top marketing and publicity people were all in a limo. And I look out the window and I literally see my 15-year-old self. I'm not like,
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't actually see her, but
Right.
like
You're not going crazy.
I
Right.
her.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like walking up Fifth Avenue, like talking to my boyfriend from high school because I spent a lot of time in New York during high school. And it's like, someday my name's going to be up in lights and blah, blah, blah. That's what I
Mm.
wanted to be, the theater major. And as these words come out of my mouth, I feel shame. I feel discomfort because I'm so uncomfortable with the pain that I've had around self-expression, which is what this book is about. Let's get through it. So I'll keep talking. And I wish that I could say to her, I am finally in that limo. I have finally written a New York Times and international best-selling book. I am finally there, whatever there is. Thank you, Gertrude Stein. There is no there. And with all these people in this fancy limo, and I looked out and I thought, it's a myth. Success by society's constructs is a myth. And then I thought, which means that failure by society's constructs is a myth. And that means the only thing that you can control is doing the work. And I turned to my publicist, literally the top publicist at that time in New York publishing. And I said, I just figured something out. And I want you to tell every one of your authors this. I will be a dutiful deliverer, messenger of this book, this is not the story you think it is. And I also know that it's the book that has the medicine. It's not me. And everybody in that limo, their shoulders just went down because they hadn't seen me, perform. They hadn't seen me speak yet. I hadn't seen me speak yet. Thank God I was a theater major. But I thought, if I could have just said to that 15-year-old girl walking down Fifth Avenue, sweetheart, it's about the work. That's the only thing you can control. So do the work that you want to do. Don't do the work that other people want you to do. Do what you want to do and do it with all your heart. And that is freedom. That is the freedom of self-expression. And it might not be popular, but it will be fulfilling in the end. How about that?
Wow. So this is so interesting. So you reached the pinnacle of success, what some people would say, like, right, that's phenomenal. And the crowd you were in, the company you were in. And then it didn't fulfill you. It wasn't fulfilling. It was like you didn't feel worthy of it, or you're like, this is it. This is what I wanted.
It just felt like the business side of art. And I've never said that before. I think that's true. Maybe it just felt like, I guess the way it felt was, I know who I am in my office alone in Montana where I write. I mean, writing is born out of community, but it's all about solitary living. And so then to suddenly, I've helped right over here. There's about 25 books that I've helped publish from all of my Haven Writing Retreat alums. And it's just like this big pile right here. And I tell them all, like, you've got to love the process, but if you want to get it out there in the world, then you become a business person. And that's very counterintuitive to artists throughout time. And it often takes them down, but there's so many great ways now to be able to get your work out there. And I know a lot about it, and it feels good to be a helper in getting their work out there. Anybody who promises you publication, run for the hills. They're either delusional or they're just lying. And those people are often charging a whole lot of money. So sorry, that's a side note, because like, if there's anyone out there that wants to write a book, like, contact me. I know how to help you, or I can send you to people who can help you, but like, just be careful, like, no promises. But I think that the idea is just that, like, you've got to love the process. That's it. And again, nobody asks you to be a writer. Nobody asks you to be a journalist. Nobody asks you to have a podcast.
Right.
Maybe they did, but no,
like, they didn't. My story, I had a radio show at the time. I had left news because I was burnt out. I'll tell you the story.
Tell me the story.
So I did it for 20 years. I worked in New York City during 9/11. I did the whole thing, and I burnt out. I had 3 little kids, and I was like, there's got to be something more than this. I hated getting up and filling in for people 1:30 in the morning. I was like a zombie. I had some kind of speech impediment by the time 9 a.m. rolled around because I was just so exhausted. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, this isn't fun. This isn't joy, right? So, and then when I was reporting, it was every horrific story that I could cover, and you bring it home because it just is heavy. And I was like, this is, someone close to me was like, this isn't you. Like, this isn't you. And I was like, oh God, it's not me. It's not me. So I left, and I did leave, but I was questioning it. Like, I'm getting a little upset, but I left because I did love telling people stories or helping them tell their stories, which I found out through a lot of reflection. What did I love about it? What do I miss about it? And it wasn't the ridiculous hours. It wasn't the nasty bosses. It wasn't all that, the pressure and the stress. It was helping people share their story to help other people, right? That was boils down to.
And you know what those tears are? When I have them, it's not sorrow necessarily, it's truth. You're speaking truth, right? It's moving through you. And here, there's a book that I want you to read. This is one of my Haven alums. She wrote this before she came to Haven. You said joy. Joy
Oh,
is my justice. This is
great.
Tangmi Tete.
Mm,
Patti. She lives in Seattle. She's from India. Joy is my justice. Like, this is a
wow.
good book for everybody to read.
Mm,
She came to Haven. Joy is my justice. Reclaim what is yours.
wow.
And anyway, I'm distracting a little bit because I'm a huge champion for all my. You want to
Yeah.
see?
Yeah.
Like this. It's not. It's just
Yeah.
on a chair. Just a bunch of books.
Yeah.
But like, listen, like you just shared your story. When we share our stories with the truth that just moved through you, we
Yeah.
change the world. The number one thing that people who write memoirs hear from readers is, "Thank you for helping me know I'm not alone."
Mm.
And this podcast that you're doing, whether or not anybody asked you to do it, or the radio, or I
No.
think
Oh my gosh. No, I pitched it to the radio and someone said, who would listen to that? I was like, if there's just one person who will listen to it, I'm okay.
that's right.
And then long story short, I'm no longer on the radio for various reasons, but you know, I wanted to control it. I didn't want other people to control it and where it
Yeah,
went.
beautiful.
So that's why I said I'm going to do the podcast and see where it goes. I'm not going to lie. I mean, Laura, you've achieved so much success, and I tell people, I'm like, I'm going to be the next Oprah, but it's not the next Oprah. I'm going to be the Jill. I'm going to be Jill, not Oprah,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be Oprah. Oprah has that tied up. She's good. Right.
Oprah doesn't want you to be the next Oprah. Oprah
Right.
wants you to be the next Jill. There's a
Right.
beautiful, oh my gosh, I know that I don't know what kind of time we're on, but like, I want to read this to you. I feel compelled. You
Go
can
ahead.
edit this out. There's
No, I'm
an
not going to edit
amazing,
it out. Go ahead. And
okay.
then I read that, and then you're not going to read the whole book, right? It's just a snippet.
It's
Oh,
a
I love
teeny
it.
little poem. It's a poem that
Oh,
I
read
didn't.
the poem, and then we'll go to quick break, and then we'll come. Yeah. So please.
Okay. So there's a, a a poet who lives in San Antonio named Naomi Shihab Nye. Have you heard of her?
No. No.
She's, like her work.
Okay.
So I teach from her work at Haven. And this is she got her poem put into a children's book. So I'm not going to like read it like a librarian, although I want to. But listen, this is about what we're talking about. We're talking about ambition, and we're
Yeah.
talking about reconstructing the way our brains work around ambition. I think that's what we're talking about right now. Listen
Yeah.
to this poem.
God,
Okay.
you're funny. Good.
I don't know if I'm funny,
You are
but I'm
funny. Yes, Laura.
definitely honest. Okay.
You are
Great.
funny. You are. Yeah.
Right. So we're talking about ambition right now, I think, and like doing it our own way. So
Mm.
this is Naomi Shihab Nye's poem, famous. The river is famous to the fish. Just so you know, like look at these illustrations. But it's not a kid's book. Anyway, the river is famous to the fish. The loud voice is famous to silence, which knew it would inherit the earth before anybody said so.
Mm.
The cat sleeping on the fence is famous to the birds watching him from the birdhouse. Sorry, I mean, you look at these pictures.
Yeah. They're adorable. Yeah.
But this is for adults. The cat sleeping on the fence is famous to the birds watching him from the birdhouse. The tear is famous briefly to the cheek. The idea you carry close to your heart is famous to your heart. The The boot is famous to the earth, more famous than the dress shoe, which is famous only to floors. The bent photograph is famous to the one who carries it, not at all famous to the one who is pictured. I want to be famous to shuffling men who smile while crossing streets, sticky children in grocery lines, famous as the one who smiled back. I want to be famous in the way a pulley is famous, or a buttonhole, not because it did anything spectacular, but because it never forgot what it could do.
That's good.
This is what wonder is about. This is about what we knew as children. Even if we endured abuse, we knew, again by birthright, what it was to be in that place of awe and curiosity and to be in harmony with it somehow. And we were really little, and we need to return to it, and we need to commit to it, because this, again, is a worried world. And without wonder, curiosity, awe, we're in a world of pain. And I want that to be different for people. And that's why I wrote this book, and why I do the work that I do, and why I think that you do the work that you do too. Thank you so much, Jill.
Oh my God. All right, we're gonna take a break. Laura, you're fantastic. We could go on and on. I feel like this could be 3 hours. All right, let's take a quick break here. There's so much more to talk about. We'll be back with Laura Munson after the commercial break. You're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. If you like what you're listening to, share this with a friend, because it's really, really good.
Hi everybody, I'm Jill Conway. If you love what you're listening to, please like and subscribe to my channel on whatever podcast platform you listen to, and on YouTube, so I can keep bringing you these amazing women and sharing their stories. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you love it as much as I do.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. Laura Munson is with me. Laura, you talk about your writing retreats. Tell us about that. And it's why would someone want to be a part of it?
Okay, so has anybody ever told you that you've got a really important story and you need to write it down, and you've thought, yeah, but, and then in comes that inner critter. Somebody else that already did it better than you ever could. You don't know letters after your name. It's indulgent. You're going to upset your mother. Like, you're going to get sued, or like all that stuff that we hear again. And you know this, Jill, because I heard you say this on your podcast. It's fear. All that is fear. It's habituated fear. So we don't have to do it alone. It's so important to find somebody who can create safety around your self-expression, especially when you're writing your own story, recounting your own story. Now, I work with people who are writing fiction, who are writing nonfiction, who are writing poems, screenplays, songs, sci-fi, dystopian, but most of the people I work with, 1,000 people now, who come out here to Montana to work with me, are working on memoir or short form memoir, personal essay, or novels. That's primarily what I work with, all the way to the end with people. So, like, people come out here, they spend 5 days with me in community in this exceptional place that is near Glacier National Park, where I've lived for 30 years. Even though I'm a city girl, I still think of myself as a city girl. But man, Montana has me on my knees every single day. I learned so many lessons just by living here. And so I bring people here, and we take over this amazing place that's on a whole lot of land, and we dig in deeply, and it's small. It's like, at this point, it's like 6 or 7 people, and I've at least that many people taking care of us. The point is that I am just so sick of hearing people say, I want to tell my story. I want to share my story. I want to know how to express myself. And then all the refusals that I shared earlier in this conversation. I don't have a voice, etc. So it's like, how can I get people to know that their voice is essential and surprising and beautiful and completely unique? Let's get them into small groups. So Haven writing retreats. I do 6 of them a year here in Northwest Montana, near Glacier National Park. And what we do in this program is to get right into that inner critter voice that upsets us, and not just in our writing. A lot of people who come are like C-list executives. It's open to all gender. It's mostly women who come, but it's open to all gender, and it doesn't make any difference. Age, gender, it's always the same. To really get into the essence of what you have to say that nobody in the whole wide world can say like you. And when you're around strangers, but I call us word wanderers, guided by somebody who's good at guiding a group. I am. I'm, again, really bad at math. Don't trust me with your checkbook, but not because I'm going to steal money. It's just because I don't understand numbers, but I can help you write anything you want to write. And then you get here into this beautiful wilderness, and something happens every time. There's a huge shift that happens for people, because writing isn't just writing. It's, again, living in a way that helps you find what it is that you have to say, which means you have to take a stand for it. And sometimes it means leaving home. There is a line from a poem that I love, and it's In the Wild Wide by the poet Emma Mellon, who's very much alive. She's also a doctor of medicine and lives outside of Philadelphia. And in her poem, she writes this line that has changed my life and so many of my clients' life. And that is, ready, everybody? Write this down. Allow yourself to be spelled differently.
Oh.
Allow yourself to be spelled differently. What does that mean? She doesn't mean it to mean one specific thing. In fact, she was a student of Naomi's, actually, when she wrote that poem from
Wow.
Famous. Yeah, she was one of Naomi's students. And allow yourself to be spelled differently. What if we went through life like that when we were little? We went through life like that without knowing it, really little, wobbly little. But what if we did that as adults? Like, would we be suckers? Would we be foolish? Would we be silly? I don't think so. Maybe we would be stepping into our vital essence. Allow yourself to be spelled differently. So that means get outside of your comfort zone, do something new, do something that's safe. Like, I make sure that, like, we have an interview when I bring my students in. It's an application process. You're accepted or not. And right, because like you're in a circle in the middle of Montana, like you better feel safe to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And I see amazing things happen because it's not about me, it's about the program. I create the program holds you, I hold the program. The people at the ranch, at the retreat center hold me, and it's this really beautiful symbiosis. So I mean, whether or not you come to Haven, I hope that you can find a haven in your life wherein you can find a safe place to express yourself. So important.
Would you say that's how it all, like, if you had to give advice to someone, right, who's listening, who the same thing, like maybe they can't for whatever reason get out to Montana, but where is it just about just starting and writing in that little notebook or whatever like you have, just to grab it and just start doing, like, just emptying your mind in a way?
Yeah, I mean, I wish that that was true. I mean, Jill, like, maybe you and I might do that, but a lot of people would think that that was a waste of time or self-indulgent, or they'd be judged, or, like, I can take a run, I can do my 10,000 steps. I can look at my little watch 5,000 times a day and, like, but like writing, that's like, that's silly.
So
However,
interesting.
I know that writing is a lifeline, and there's no 10,000 steps of writing. There are no 10,000 words. I mean, I get, okay. Some people who are writing teachers teach like that. I just don't know. I've never really met a writer who's ultimately been served by that. I think it's really a good way to get your toe in. But like what I offer is like a full immersion. And I think that's the way it's got to be. I don't know. There's like again, you see, I'm stuttering because I'm not comfortable with saying there's one way, because there
Right.
isn't one way. And please stay away from people who say that there is a recipe or a book that's like, here's how to write a book. It's like, just don't do it. It's like, find a trusted editor, because you don't have to do it alone, and find a way to truly. It's like Michelangelo believed that this, like the sculpture was in the stone, and it was his job to release that
Mhm.
sculpture from the stone. A good editor feels that way. So they're not trying to teach you to do something the way they do it. They're trying to help you learn how you do it. And that goes with anything, writing, any sort of process of illumination and self awareness and self expression.
Mm. Did you know when you first published, when your first book was published, and I know the article and everything that came out and it just went like wildfire, right? But did you know when you were writing it that it was special and that, because I think that hangs people up, right? Like you often hear about that. Like you don't know when you're in the midst of it and you're deep in it that this is the one that's going to go viral. You know what I mean? You don't.
Oh my God. No, so she's talking about this is not the story you think it is.
Yeah.
This one, if you're looking, um, I think a lot of us are visual. Um, and now I had no idea. Are you kidding? Like, I was just telling Jill on break that over in this section of my office over there, I have all the books that I have never published and will never publish in boxes. And I decided to buy like really beautiful, like squash blossom yellow boxes and put them all like icons, like up on this shelf. And I never thought that I would put them on that shelf. And I had my daughter, my adult daughter, her husband, and my son, who all live, I'm very lucky in Whitefish, Montana, help me with them because they're way up high. And they've been in a closet, Jill, for years. It's Montana, right? So who knows what's been crawling around those closets? It's like, it's not just mice, it's like straight up pack rats, disgusting. And,
Oh.
and it's like, so like what I'm talking about is shame. I'm talking about inner critic, inner
Mm.
critter versus inner champion. And the inner champion can say, well, sure, they're not published, but they were exercises in learning and they're important. And let's put them someplace where you can feel proud of them. So I don't know what the question was. I'm just getting all excited about really trying to teach anybody who's listening. And thank you, anybody who's watching, listening, to understand that like it doesn't give us any leg up on anything or any more wisdom to present ourselves as um
Mm.
powerless or I don't know. There's this thing that women do that I can't stand because this is for women, this powerful women's studio. It's like, don't you like, I would love to hear what you have to say about this. I can't stand it when women are self-deprecating because they think that it makes them powerful. But because what I think it really is I'm afraid of you hurting me as a fella
Mm.
woman. So I'm going to say the thing that's bad about me. So
Mm.
that you, as a shield, as a mask,
Mm.
so that
Mm.
you can't hurt me. So I'm going to say all the bad stuff. And comedians do this a lot as a way to shield themselves. I mean, can I ask you what you think about
Oh.
that? I can't stand that. And
Oh,
tell
you.
all my students and clients, do not do that in your
Mm.
writing. It's okay to be funny, but not if it's a foil.
Oh, interesting. I haven't thought about it that way, but that is true, right? I think of it like when people do that sometimes, I feel like sometimes it depends on the person. They're fishing for compliments. They're so insecure that they're pointing it out. And then because they want you to say, oh, no, no, you're not that. Oh, no, you're like, oh, I look fat in this. So I let it, it's like, no, you don't. You look beautiful. And it's that part. It's like, what, why? You look great. You know what I mean? Like, why do we have to tear ourselves down sometimes to try to feel better? I don't know.
Well, and it's the same with writing. Like, so, okay, because I work so intimately with people trying to express themselves in books, many of which
Mm.
are memoir, they'll, like, if they are funny, they'll fog
Oh.
with funny. Or they'll, like I said, that they'll like come out and say, like, on the stage, kind of like, I am, this crazy person. And so now in scene, watch. And it's like, hey, what if you were kind to yourself? Because what to me that does is say, I don't trust you,
Mm.
audience.
Mm.
And so you're going to hurt me. So I'm going to say the meanest thing I can about myself
Mm,
so that you won't hurt me. It's just armor.
that's so
But
true.
if you're writing a memoir, and fiction is my favorite, but I mean, basically written 2 memoirs now. That just makes the reader or the audience uncomfortable because what they really want is to feel like they're sitting there having tea with you,
Yeah.
you know, or a
Yeah.
glass of wine, or just like they just want to feel like they're sitting there with like a blanket around themselves and you've got one around yourself. It's kind of the way I feel right now with you, actually.
I feel the
It's
same
true,
way.
right? And then just to be like, hi, human being
Right.
that have hard, I mean, like life is hard and
Mm,
beautiful and heartbreaking and glorious and illuminating. And let's just be real with each other.
mm,
That's what people really want. We live our lives in stories,
mm,
not bullet points, not talking points, not slick 10 easy steps.
mm,
And from those women's conferences that I shared about earlier, I think that sometimes those steps in a PowerPoint display over your head, big
yeah.
screen, can be something that you bring home with. Like you bring it home and you remember it, and maybe that mantra sticks with you. But what I know to be true is that if you tell a story, that's what they're going to remember.
Because it
That's
makes
what,
them feel. It makes them feel
yeah,
and
because
connect.
we live our lives in
Yeah.
stories, not bullet points.
Yeah. You're
We
right.
don't live our lives in 10 easy steps and tips and tricks and
Yeah.
here's my method. And I mean, I'm not dissing those who do these sorts of programs because I think they help people. But, I get a lot of people who come to my program who say, I tried, it didn't help
Mm,
me. What I want is story.
mm,
And that's what I uh, procure and
mm,
curate,
mm.
the story.
Oh, I love that. All right, we're almost wrapping up. But what is Laura? What is like your favorite part of writing? All the books, all the things you've written, all those other books that are sitting up on the shelf that are never going anywhere.
Well, I suppose that it's similar to what I said earlier, that it's how I connect with myself. And if we're not connected to ourself, then how can we connect with the world? And I used to say something grandiose. Writing is how I breathe. Well, that's silly. How I breathe is this way. That's it.
But
But
I understand that. I understand that.
yeah, I mean, see, I just want to interview. It's like, well, tell me how you understand that.
Well, because it's life, right? I think it's how you when you say that to me, it's like it's breath. It's how I feel alive. It's how I understand myself. It's how I want to go through the world, right? It's my mission. It's my calling. It's my soul. It's my heartbeat.
Yeah. I think it's like how we breathe, our hearts beat. If
Mm,
we completely abandoned it,
mm,
I think we would still breathe and our hearts would still beat. But I think our minds, our souls would suffer.
mm,
And I think that for whatever reason, whether it's for glory or fame or money or recognition or to heal a wound from our childhood with a family member or an institution, it doesn't matter. It
mm.
doesn't matter. It's like what we were talking about before at the very beginning. I mean, Jill, it's just who we are and how we're going to show up.
Mm.
And we hope that it helps. So I hope that this talk has helped your
Yeah,
audience. I'm so grateful that I've been here. I'm grateful for the work that you're doing in this world. It's so pure. Like I'm always listening, like look at it's Mary Olson. All right, let's shout her out a minute.
yeah,
Darn it. I've got her book downstairs in my but Mary, she connected us. And it's
yeah,
like we've become like immediate friends.
yeah,
And this is what to look for, people.
yeah.
Kindredness, the rippling effect of good intention after good intention after good intention. And if somebody doesn't feel like they stand or sit or breathe or live or heartbeat in good intention, find somebody else.
Yeah.
I feel like this has been a beautiful confluence, Jill. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Oh my God, Laura, I feel the same way. I feel like we just connected on a soul level. I do. And a sisterhood, right? I'll have to come out there. I'll have to come out there.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
booking now for March. My fall retreats are done, but yeah, March
Wow.
2026. But that I'm not trying to sell any of this stuff. What
No,
I'm trying,
no.
if I'm trying to sell anything, is please return to what you knew as a child. Everybody, your childhood wonder. There is such treasure there for you and freedom.
Oh my gosh. Oh my, let's all right. Let's cut it there because that's perfect. That's beautiful. Laura, I do want to say a very big thank you to you for coming on and taking a chance with this. I know we tried to connect a while, but this was wonderful. So I want to thank you for that.
I loved it. More, please.
Oh, thank you. All right, I'm Jill Conway, and thank you for listening, everybody, to the show celebrating incredible women like Laura. And I hope you are inspired to pursue your own goals, believe in yourself, and dream bigger. Your voice matters, and your story can help others. I hope you join me next time. Share this podcast with a friend. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Laura.